Black Lotus, the Power 9, a bunch of other important reserve list reprints, and a bunch of other junk. It's all getting reprinted in Magic the Gathering 30th Anniversary Edition. Obviously, this is a hot button issue. There's a lot of people that have an opinion, and we are no exception.
We're going to take a deep dive into this, look at a little history of the reserve list, and I want to talk about some of the possible pull rates. How many packs of this you would have to open to get specific cards out of it. There's a lot to get into. The video starts right now.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat. Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I am Pokemon 151 Mew.
I'm locked in Rudy's Warehouse. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We are just going to get right into this. Look, Black Lotus, Reserve List, reprints, $1,000. There's a ton that has already been said about this. It's the most incendiary thing I've seen since like The Walking Dead's secret lair. But look, Jake, this has been going on forever, and I want to dive into a little bit of it. If you like the video, by the end of this, hit us with that like button, hit us with that subscribe button. It really helps us out.
That's a great way to support the channel if you want to get involved, and if you wanted to see the dumpster fire that chat was yesterday. Honestly, it wasn't that bad, but everybody in Discord had something to say. That's the kind of thing that you expect from something like this. This is the first time in MTG's history where we are reporting on Black Lotus being reprinted. You know, the entire time that we've ever played, you know, I got into the game in 2009. Joel got into the game back in like 2000, Joel, like early on. So
yeah,
I mean, this is like, it's a historical thing for all of us. It's something where we were like, you know, it's like, where were you when you found out Black Lotus was reprinted? You know,
Seriously.
That's kind of like how it feels. It's like, I know where I was. The thing about MTG, and I want to say this before we get into the depth of this video, something that I've noticed is it's a slow rollout. It's a trickling. Each thing that happens is they're preparing us. But when you know, we got the box toppers and Ultimate Masters that ultimately became the extended art cards that we see all the time, that are now, you know, like if you don't get a good one, it's completely jank. It doesn't matter. We see the textured foils that come out in Double Masters 2022 that now are all over the place in Dominaria United, and they're less than $1. You know, so this just happens. So now we have these high quality proxies, and if they're going to do it with Black Lotus, if it does well, they're doing it with everything. So, you know, it's like, where do we go from here? And then what ends up happening, you know, when we have a couple years go by? You know, what type of changes, what are they preparing us for? You know, that's kind of like where my brain is on this whole thing.
Jake, I want to talk about 2010. 2010 is when they decided to reprint Phyrexian Negator into a dual decks coalition versus the Phyrexians. And I'll tell you, at that time, people thought that that was the end of the reserve list. I've read an article here from 2010. The reserve list is effectively dead. I say effectively because at this time, Wizards of the Coast has clarified the policy to allow the reprinting of premium cards for retail products, as opposed to printing them as giveaways for their judge program. For my own part, I wish that Wizards would have just gone ahead and done away with the reserve list entirely. It's not anything but a blight on the game, and one that long outlived its purpose. That's from Ben B over at Starcity Games. I'll have a link to that article from 2010 because I think it sheds a nice light on where we have been and where we are going. It says in the reserve list that the cards cannot be reprinted in a tournament legal form. It just says that straight up. Now, we know that they've tested the water on this before. Back in 2010 with the Phyrexian Negator, this is a quote from Morrow. Somebody on their blog, on his blog, asked him, "I know that you're a supporter of following the reserve list, even if people disagree with what's on it. However, I do know you reprinted Phyrexian Negator. Why?" Morrow said, "We tried to see if we could stretch the boundaries a little on the reserve list to free up a few cards we felt would benefit the game. It blew up in our faces. Note that Negator was printed in premium, which technically does not break what the original reserve list promised. We have since said we would not reprint the reserve list in premium version." And on Reddit today, during the fallout of all this, I read a screenshot of a comment from Facebook posted by somebody named Joel Mick, claiming to be the one who drafted the original reserve list statement when he was a brand manager for Magic back in the 90s. Prior to my job at Wizards, I was a tax attorney. I drafted the reserve list statement to be reassuring to people who had a lot of value in their Magic cards, but at the same time flexible enough to allow for unimagined products to be published many years in the future that would not hurt the game or significantly impact the values of the early cards. It's the kind of thing where people may have read the statement and simplified what it said in their own heads, but if you go back and read it, it is completely clear that this product doesn't break the promise. And so they've just sort of put all their chips on the table, so to speak. They are showing all of their cards. They say, look, it doesn't say we can't. We're backed up with the, property being the most expensive thing in Hasbro's portfolio at this point. So they're going to protect the shit out of it. And we can do whatever we want to do, to some people's dismay and to some people's absolute happiness.
I think that this is definitely Hasbro. I don't think that this is something that WotC would have done on their own. I think that they worked their ass off to try and make collector products that were interesting to people. We saw a little bit of a collector product that offered a newly printed card that had a high premium, and that was the Hitotsugu Neon Ink Red.
Right.
That still holds a high premium, but it's a card that you can acquire that really doesn't have a lot of great use or utility. It's just a collector's item if you get one of the colored ones. The thing I keep coming back to is, like, who are we celebrating with here? Like, who is celebrating the 30th anniversary? It's Wizards of the Coast, it's Hasbro, and it's the whales. And everybody else is just kind of like, all right, well, there's that ridiculous product that has...
I've heard this sentiment a lot, but they will point to, and I think rightly so, they've got these, promos for every year of MTG that's existed that you can just get for free at the store. They've got this secret layer, 30 days of MTG history, whatever the hell that is. We'll cover it in a future episode. But I don't even think at this point we know what the price point of that is, but I can't imagine that they're going to roll out the gate with $2,000 or more or whatever sticker price things, because I'll completely agree with you, dude. The sticker shock of $1,000 for no guarantee, that's abysmal. I hate that piece of this. I would much rather it be $1,000, let it remain $1,000, but print gold border, Lotus, all the mocks, the Power 9, and all the duels. One set, $1,000, gold border, back of the card can be whatever, don't care. And if you want to add it a little more premium in, like have actual gold on the cards or something, really be like, this is a premium collector's piece, not to be played with. Because this randomized booster version of this just makes it seem like they're testing, hey, is anybody going to majorly quit our game if we just reprint Reserve List Cube Gold Border Edition in 2023? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, this is the beginning of something new. When it was expeditions going into masterpieces and then invocations and then ultimately collector boxes and all of the stuff that we see today, secret layer, it's always something new, You see the first secret layer and you're like, how many of these are there going to be? I'm going to collect them all. And now you're like, oh, there are a bajillion of them and I can't possibly keep up with all of it.
I think that the people that are like hardcore sticker shock don't like this product. I think you're right. I tweeted this earlier. I think you're right. I think that the people that are like, I think this product's going to be a really cool investment collectible long term. I'd have to raise my eyebrows if anybody who was like NFTs in 2020 is like, nah, fuck this $1,000 shit. I just don't see how the two don't correlate. It is a collectible item that you're gonna buy, leave, and hopefully it goes up over time. That's how a lot of people are viewing this. I think
here's the thing: you're paying $250 for a chance to pull a Lotus, and it is a WotC printed Lotus. But what's crazy is we did Duel Masters 20th Anniversary, Shadow of the Alternate Reality, Parallel Masters of the Ultimate Universe, and there's the whole Black Lotus that was printed in there, and there was a Black Lotus that was printed beforehand, and the card is gorgeous, and it's $20. It's just not printed by Wizards of the Coast, and so if you're playing kitchen table vintage, No one's going to kick your door down and be like, show me the authenticity on those cards. Show me it. You know, you don't care. You're just playing whatever. And then there's also the option of literally writing it on a piece of paper and playing vintage that way. Print the cards out on your inkjet printer, you know, whatever. But for some reason, you know, I mean, in this collector's instance, for me, the thing that doesn't add up, and it hurts my brain every single time I try to put it together, is like, why not make it accessible to everybody?
Right.
Just put it all into, I said, you know, you said 1,000, I said 250, just $250. You get a stack of proxies. We don't need any gold flecked treatment on them or anything like that. But you get all of the proxies in a small pack. It's the Lotus and the Power 9.
And I get that, but I think that is what people are missing about this. I don't think it's intended to be that. I think that's why people are pissed about this. Is it's meant to be purchased and put on a shelf. This is, if seeing these out in the wild, I think is going to be an oddity. Maybe the dual lands because they have increased rarity.
Sure.
But dude, this is meant to be purchased and put on a shelf. It's meant to go on the shelf behind me here for me to be like, oh, look at that, I spent $1,000. If I want to do that, I think a bunch of the ire from people comes from being like, well, why can't I have it? And there, you know, it's a lot of,
that's fine. You know,
why not me?
People don't need to all have the same thing, and that's not what I'm advocating for at all. But in the spirit of the 30th anniversary, you know, I guess then go celebrate and buy the secret layer that correlates with it. You're gonna get some cool cards in there. Otherwise, you know, save up, buy one pack of this stuff. You know, $250. Maybe you get lucky. And maybe you go home with the gold. Maybe you go home with the hive. Maybe you go home with Deathlace, whatever.
Right.
But you know, it's definitely a gamble. And a lot of the stuff, you know, none of it is tournament legal. It's all going to be groovy in Commander. 99% of players aren't going to give a shit if you're playing it in your Commander deck. So, you know, whatever.
One other point before we show you what the odds are of pulling any individual card in this set. I hear a bunch of people, well, how am I supposed to celebrate Magic's 30th anniversary? Sure. There's a ton of sets and secret layers coming out all the time. I'm constantly bombarded by MTG product. Am I the only one who's like, did we need this? Is this just another cash grab? Like, obviously,
I'm still
this
trying to get the
thing
money together for Warhammer. I'm sorry, I don't mean to trample over you.
I was posting today, hey, has anybody seen these for 50 a pop? Because I just want to get these 4 decks. And everybody's like, but Black Lotus is undermining the integrity of my game. How am I supposed to celebrate Magic 30 now? And I'm just like, were you worried about that this year? Is that just a concern now? Because you can't buy the $1,000 thing? I'm in a position where I could buy the $1,000 thing and I don't want it because it's just, it doesn't speak to me. I'm good. I want the Warhammer decks that I can play games with, entire decks. I want to open up some Brothers War, see some sweet Transformers cards because it's a new thing every freaking week with this company, man. This is going to blow over. This is going to be Walking Dead Secret Lair in 3 years when we get a gold border reserve list cube a year. In 3 years on regular rotation.
Exactly. Because
and everybody's going to be, it's just going to be normalized. All this fucking anger is just going to be for nothing. Just relax.
But they're going to be old hat. And one day the people that paid all of this money for this are going to look back and go, wow, I really got taken for a ride. That's just kind of like how I feel about it. Would it be cool to open the Lotus? Maybe you open the Lotus. The Lotus is worth $5,000. You send it out for grading. It comes back a 9.5 or a 10, and then you have like a $10,000 card because you got it out of a very expensive pack, whatever.
For sure.
And there is the other side of that token, which is maybe it really does go to the moon and they only do it once.
Right.
But
the thing is like the FOMO is the only thing keeping me in the conversation, but there is a piece, the FOMO piece of Joel, that's like, I mean, I could easily see this being next year being like, why didn't I buy a Mono Liliana foils at 500?
Right, exactly. You know, if you do buy it, you know, set it on a shelf, treat it, you know, in my opinion, you know, what's crazy about it is it's a high risk product, but if you keep it sealed, you know, I do think unless they make it a regular thing, which there is part of me that's like, you know, flip a coin. You know,
Seriously.
and
No, and I
they
think
do,
that
maybe
you're
they
right
don't.
on, dude. Your first point in the video was they're constantly sort of like easing us in. We are in the pot of water. They want to boil us so all of our money rises to the top. You got to start with lukewarm water, and so it slowly starts to boil without us freaking noticing until we're floating. So that is, I think, what's happening here in a major way. We got Secret Lair. There was a big chunk of time between that. They said huge success because it made us money, a ton of it. And then they were like, every IP is welcome. Let's go. Dude, I'm telling you, a year from now, Magic 30th Anniversary Black Lotus reprint Reserved List gold border cards is one of our highest selling products of all time. So we've decided to celebrate the first anniversary of the 30th
product.
anniversary of that product,
Sure,
and bring
sure.
to you the 31st anniversary version of gold border reserve. Dude, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're gonna do it with Urza Block, and they're gonna be like, "Here's
Yes.
Academy Rector and Palinkron and
Enjoy,
Metal Worker."
enjoy, Gilded
and,
Drakes for everyone.
Right, exactly. You know, it makes a $25 collector pack look like, oh, well, that's completely affordable and
Easy
and reasonable.
peasy.
Easy peasy, and you get a bunch of rares and you get a bunch of foils.
Yes.
So there's a little
Well,
bit
and
of...
along those lines, dude, Brian Kibler's talking today on Twitter about how I would prefer them to hide unplayable pieces behind this huge collector price than have a Modern Horizons 2 set come out that is also a higher price than a normal set of MTG cards, but it's gatekeeping actual game pieces. Ragavan is ridiculous, and you need 4 of it for, it seems like, every freaking deck in Modern. And so... what is the difference here? Why are we complaining about, oh man, this $1,000 pack, and not, I can't believe that they keep shoving premium sets down our throat that fundamentally alter entire formats versus, yay, some Commander players might get some dual lands.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if they serialize 500 Black Lodi. Let's call them Black Lodi. You know, 500 Black Lotus, and they just put those in, you know, the next wave of collector products. You know, they're like, okay, throughout this year, collector products, there's going to be 500 serialized Black Lotus that are just going to appear randomly in those, and they're not tournament legal, but you know, they're there. They're there, and they look really cool. We have an all new art treatment, and you know, it's the golden Black Lotus. It's just a gold card. It's just, you know, it's got this crazy masterpiece type treatment going on. I mean, it really does come down to whatever you can imagine is likely what they'll do, you know.
Yes.
Especially if they don't get the backlash. And that's the other point that I wanted to finish about MTG players and their whining, is there's no follow through. You're going to retweet on Twitter, you're going to do something, you know, you're going to be like, to your friends.
Sure.
You're going to be like, well, what the happened? And it's going to bubble up, and then it's just going to sizzle like it always does.
Well, it's because this isn't a product for the people that are complaining about it. And so
Sure.
they can't vote with their wallets, because you can't like stop a product from selling with your wallet. You can just not buy it, but they're not the ones who I'm sure financial and math analysts that Wizards and Hasbro have in a room all cranking out what to price these products at have all said, oh yeah, this will sell like crazy. You're going to sell a ton of these. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to sell out like nobody's business.
It prices out a massive amount of people. You know, that's my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, for
We've
sure.
seen the power creep and the money creep over the years, especially in the recent years, you know, since you know, especially post COVID and just like this big ramping of collector product.
It can be both things at the same time. And I think that's where my final point sort of lands with this, before we look at some odds of the pulls, is that this can be both things. This can be, I mean, look at how they've structured printing cards over the last 2 years. You got your base copy, you got your foil copy, you got your showcase, you got your textured, you got your foil retros, and the higher up you go on the expensive chain for any version of a card, the lower down it pushes that base copy, makes that more affordable for the players who just want the game pieces, and they're printing these showcase, foil, alternate, scratch and sniff, hover above your head if it has flying cards that Post Malone can own, you know, and that
Sure.
player is who this $1,000 product is aimed at. They've got the free promos. They've got the, you know, secret layer that the mid-tier, like, you know, people that want to spend 100 to 100, 150, 200 want to spend. And then they've got this $1,000 tier. I mean, it's why we structure our videos 10, 100, 500, and 1,000, because there are different purchasing structures that exist, and that's okay. That is okay. Everybody just needs to chill.
You know, before we start to see some of the openings, and I'm you know, very excited to see some of these.
Oh, dude, we're not buying this. We won't be able to open it, but yeah, reacting to openings is definitely on the table.
Yeah, there's part of me that wants to see the openings, and my gut is going to say, this is where my gut goes with this product. Because of the double collation of dual lands, I'm going to guess we see one dual land per box on average. I think that's going to be something that we see. So in 4 packs, you know, we're talking about, I'm going to guess that we see one dual land per box, maybe 2 if a box is absolutely amazing. And then you have to hope that in those other 2 rare slots, keep in mind, we didn't really talk about the pack contents. You got commons, uncommons, and a chance at a rare. That's it, folks. That's what you're going at when you crack into one of these $250 lottery tickets. So that rare slot is a big deal. You're going to hit power 9 there. You know, you got the power 9 in this. You got some really good cards. You could have one of these that you open, you spend $1,000, you hit Volcanic, you hit Underground Sea, you hit Black Lotus, and somehow you got super freaking lucky and you open one of the Moxen as well. Or you could get very unlucky and open a bunch of shit that just sucks. You know, we might do a video where we go through and we look at, you know, the old sets, you know, alpha and beta, and look at what amount of rares you're going to be happy to open.
Jake, that's a great segue to the contents of these packs. Our patron Callie Killed Knox sent this link over to me today. I think they saw it on Reddit. This is a brand new blog that was just started. I tried to figure out who William is. William, if you're out there, you happen to watch this article's great. I hope it's accurate, because we're going to talk about it like it's accurate, because I'm no math boy. So here are your chances and costs should you open that many packs USD, excluding taxes and shipping. Again, thank you to William. William, I'm going to put the link to this in the description of the video. If you happen to be out there, let us know if there's anything else that we can pump for you, because this is a great amount of information that we're going to use here. Modern Border rare from a pack. 1 out of every 123 packs to contain a particular rare card. Black Lotus. 1 out of every 61.5 packs contain a particular dual land card. So that's $60,000 worth of cards. 1 out of every 13.7 to contain a power 9, approximately 13. And 1 out of every 6 contain a dual land. So any dual land. It's, I mean, 1 out of 13. Rare.
Now let's go over this, because there is one here that I think a lot of people are going to focus on, because it's what piqued my interest.
Right.
And it is 1 in 13.7, so almost 1 in 14 packs to contain a power 9 card. So that's, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. If you're just trying to secure a power 9,
yeah,
those are not bad odds. 1 in 14 or 1 in 14 packs.
Yeah.
You know, just saying.
Depending on how many you can purchase, if there's a limit, you know, $1,000, $4,000, you're getting 4 times 4, 16 packs. Maybe you can do it. Maybe that would work.
I mean, 1 out of every 6.2 packs to contain a dual land. So you see there as well, in a little way correlates with what I was saying, which is, you know, you're probably going to see a dual land per box. That's kind of how I read that there.
So all of that to say, this product is one of a kind. Huge border mark post in MTG history. This will live on forever as sort of a change, a right turn.
Pivotal moment. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why we're covering it so hard, because we really do think it is huge, but we are really trying to take a tempered approach to this, because this is the exact kind of thing that just turns MTG players into rage monsters. And I don't think that we need to judge any type of person who wants to interact with this in their own way. Ignore it and hate it. Great. Don't call people assholes who want to buy it. Want to buy it? Great. Buy it. You're not obviously going to be calling everybody peasants that don't buy it. It's just different strokes for different folks, and everybody needs to calm down.
It does kind of feel like, to me, Wizards of the Coast was put into this moment of kind of like in like a Mass Effect type game, or one of those choose your own adventure games, and it's like the big bad guy was like, well, Wizards of the Coast, you said that you would never print the reserved list again. What do you decide to do? And it's just like, whoa, take a minute. You have some big choice to make here that's going to affect the rest of the story. And it's like, stay true to what we said, or
find a loophole.
Go for ultimate profit. And I think that, they chose go for ultimate profit. And so, yeah, dude, it is very much like an important pivotal moment for collectors, for players. I think players are going to benefit the most from this. If there's a massive fallout in the game and people just want game pieces, and there's like the biggest windfall of just like, sell my cards, I don't want it, which I think is very unlikely, at least in this stage of where we are. But nothing on this channel is financial advice. There's definitely a case for bears here who believe that this could be a decline for the game, whereas bulls are going to be like, no, Magic forever. And yeah, this is it's scary to me. It's a little scary to me.